before Bitcoin, before the dollar, before central banks, there was a metal that every civilization on Earth agreed had value, not because governments declared it, but because gold possessed something that made it inevitable as money. And understanding why gold reveals everything about what makes money work and what makes it fail. Welcome to the Money Historian, where money, power, and history collide. And nothing is ever as simple as it looks. Here's the question. Why gold? Humans have used thousands of materials throughout history. We've valued silk, spices, and salt enough to trade them across continents. But only gold became the universal measure of wealth. What made this one metal so special that it shaped civilization for 5,000 years? The answer isn't about rarity alone. Platinum is rarer. It's not about beauty. Gems are more striking. It's not about usefulness. Iron has more practical applications. Gold became money because it has a perfect combination of physical properties that no other element can match. And once you understand these properties, you'll see why every attempt to replace gold has been fighting against basic chemistry. First, gold doesn't decay. Leave an iron coin in the ground for 100 years and you'll dig up rust. Leave silver and you'll find tarnish. But gold emerges unchanged, as bright as the day it was minted. Gold is chemically inert. It doesn't react with air, water, or most acids. The gold coins buried with Egyptian pharaohs 3,000 years ago are still pure gold today. That's chemistry making gold the perfect store of value. Second, gold is divisible without losing value. You can melt a gold bar, split it into 100 pieces, and each piece is worth exactly 1/100th of the original. Try that with diamonds. You've destroyed most of the value. Try it with land or cattle. You can't divide them without loss. But gold maintains its value per unit weight no matter how you divide it. A merchant could pay for a small purchase with gold dust, or a massive one with gold bars. Third, portability. Gold is incredibly dense. A fist-sized chunk weighs more than a kilogram. Enormous wealth can be carried in small volumes. A single gold bar the size of a smartphone is worth tens of thousands of dollars. Compare that to carrying the equivalent value in grain or cattle. Gold let traders move vast fortunes across continents without caravans of goods. Fourth, gold is perfectly fungible. 1 gram of pure gold is identical to any other gram, anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter if it was mined in Africa or South America. Gold is gold. This meant merchants in China could accept gold from Rome without question. No other commodity offered this standardization. Fifth, gold is rare, but not too rare. If gold were as common as iron, it would be worthless. If it were as rare as californium, there wouldn't be enough to build a monetary system. But gold exists in that perfect sweet spot. All the gold ever mined would fit in a cube about 22 meters on each side, roughly an Olympic swimming pool. Not much for 5,000 years of civilization. This scarcity is natural, built into Earth's geology, which means no one can easily inflate the supply. Finally, gold is recognizable and hard to fake. Gold's color, weight, and softness are distinctive. A merchant could bite a gold coin to test its purity. Real gold is soft enough to leave teeth marks. They could weigh it, measure its density, or test it with acid. Simple verification methods meant people could trust gold transactions without sophisticated technology. Put these properties together and you get the perfect material for money. Durable, divisible, portable, fungible, scarce, but not too scarce, and easily verified. No other element on the periodic table has this combination. Not silver, which tarnishes, not copper, which is too abundant. Not platinum, which was unknown to ancient civilizations. Gold was chemically optimized to be money. Humans didn't choose gold because they understood chemistry. They chose it because these properties made it useful, and useful things get adopted. By 3000 BCE, Egyptians were using gold as money. By 700 BCE, Lydians had minted the first gold coins. By the Roman Empire, gold was the foundation of international trade. And for 2,000 years, gold remained at the center of every major monetary system. The gold standard emerged naturally. If everyone agrees gold has value, it becomes the universal measuring stick for all other wealth. Currencies became valuable because they could be exchanged for gold. Banks stored gold as reserves. International debts were settled in gold. The entire architecture of global finance was built on the assumption that gold was real money, and everything else was just a claim on gold. This system worked for centuries because it imposed discipline. Governments couldn't print unlimited gold. They could only issue currency backed by reserves. If a nation ran deficits and lost its gold, its currency would collapse. The gold standard wasn't perfect, but it prevented the monetary chaos that happens when nothing backs currency except government promises. And then came 1971. Nixon severed the dollar's tie to gold, ending Bretton Woods and creating fiat currency. For the first time in human history, money was backed by nothing but trust in governments. No physical commodity, no chemical constraints. Just paper, or digital entries in databases. This was supposed to be progress, freedom from gold's constraints, flexibility to manage economies, the ability to respond to crises. But removing gold didn't eliminate the need for the properties that made it valuable. Money still needs to store value, be divisible, portable, fungible, scarce, and trustworthy. Fiat currency tries to replicate these properties through institutions. And for a while, it works, until it doesn't. Without the physical constraint of gold, governments face an irresistible temptation: print more money, finance wars, fund deficits, stimulate economies. Every fiat currency in history has eventually succumbed. The Roman denarius collapsed. The French assignat became worthless. The German mark hyperinflated. Even the US dollar has lost over 95% of its purchasing power since 1971. Gold doesn't have this problem. You can't print gold. Its scarcity is enforced by physics, not policy. This is why gold never disappeared. Central banks still hold over 35,000 tons of gold. China has been quietly accumulating it for decades. Russia converted reserves to gold before facing sanctions. Even as governments promote fiat currencies, they hoard gold. Why? Because when crises hit, when currencies collapse, when trust fails, gold remains. It's the ultimate fallback, the monetary asset that has survived every empire, every revolution, every financial crisis for 5,000 years. We've built a global financial system on trust. Trust that central banks will manage currency responsibly, that governments won't inflate away our savings, and maybe that trust is justified. But history suggests otherwise. Every fiat currency experiment has failed. Every government has eventually abused its monetary power. And when the system cracks, people return to gold. Bitcoin advocates argue that cryptocurrency can replace gold with digital scarcity, and they have a point. Bitcoin is easier to transfer, harder to confiscate, and perfectly divisible, but it lacks gold's 5,000-year track record and universal recognition. Gold has survived civilizations that didn't know about each other. Bitcoin has existed for 15 years. Time will tell if digital scarcity can match chemical permanence. So why did gold become universal currency? Because chemistry, physics, and human nature aligned to make it inevitable. Gold's properties made it useful. Its usefulness made it valuable. Its value made it money. And its role as money shaped empires, funded wars, and built global trade for millennia. We've tried to move beyond gold, to create money that's more flexible and modern. But we haven't escaped the fundamental question: what makes money trustworthy? Gold answered that through atomic structure and geological scarcity. Fiat currency answers it through institutional promises. And history keeps reminding us which foundation is more durable. If this changed how you see money, hit subscribe. History has the answers. I'll show you where to look.